water in their veins. You have that salt water. Don't let the doctors change it. Keep it. It is nothing like it. There's no blood like it.
Tariffs! Potatoes and chicken!
You're gonna crack. Not good. Come, please. Come, please.
Tariffs! Potatoes and chicken! Potatoes and chicken! Tariffs!
Not good. Action replays in magnified portion.
Potatoes and chicken!
Okay. We gotta get at this. Mike is on. Everybody's here. We gotta get to this. Sorry, I'm running a little bit late. A lot's going on at home, obviously, and then of course, I get down into these rabbit holes where the right-wing thought machine has just drifted into batshit crazy that it literally, most of the time I'm pretty good at interpreting where they're going with some of this. It's because they're very predictable by and large. Maggots are very predictable, and their media is chasing that dollar, not leading them. And so you'll see somebody with an agenda. Let's say Tucker Carlson, for example. A man searching for a way to hide his anti-Semitism, and when one comes along, he's all in. Or looking to hide his support for Russia, and one comes along, he's all in. Those two combined answer to everything, right? You can just see, it's a direct shot. There's no bank shot in the pool table on the pool table here. It is direct. Like you can trace it. Baseline physics. And then there are times when it falls apart so heavily because they've committed to so many things in support of Donald Trump that they have committed multiple times. Maybe they're not even aware of it. I doubt that they couldn't be. I think they just never thought anybody would call them on it, on conflicting things. The two things that cannot be true at the same time, and or conflicting ethics or ideals, or making somebody the blame, make someone to blame in a certain circumstance, and when it's somebody else, and just going, what, both of them are. Like, that's their only option, because that's Trump's thing. We'll see what happens. Every number is going to be doubled in a week, or cut in half by a week, just depending on what he's trying to hide or grow. It's just fucking crazy. And right now, those trains I told you guys about when he got elected this last time, that have been on the same track headed towards each other, are crashing all at once. And I get anybody's ever been in like a car accident, or more than one. You know that moment where everything kind of slows down and there's this absurd kind of opening of Deadpool kind of a way you see things, where it just something that's happening fast seems to happen so bizarrely slowly. And so each element of it is absurd because of that time stretch, but it's also absurd in its own, like, the steering wheel's not supposed to be doing that. I shouldn't be upside down right now. Like, there's all those things happen at once. So there's the absurdity of the time drag or the time stretch, and then there's the absurdity of everything you're seeing inside of it. And your brain is trying to make sense of it in a matter of sort of survival. And I'm sure I would love to see if they one day, and there's no way to do this ethically, but maybe in the future when people have like chips in their heads and shit, you'll be able to review what exactly happened millisecond by millisecond because the brain went into this overdrive and go, oh yeah, that's weird. It's funny that in a car crash, the human consciousness rips the space-time continuum and fucks with everything, right? Okay. But I digress. We're going to... Obviously, on the right, there is this fixation on the Christic end times philosophy stuff. And the problem with that kind of a philosophy is that any off-ramp into Armageddon, you gotta take it. Otherwise, they're gonna question your beliefs. So, needless to say, we have a couple of people who are, if they're not evangelicals, play around the fringes where most of their viewers are, who are clearly convinced, put on your Sunday go to meetings, because Jesus is gonna be back in a couple of days. And if they're Jewish, I suppose that the Messiah, not the fake one that looked like Ted Nugent, but the new one is going to come. And then the Muslims think that Muhammad's going to come back. Like, they're all convinced, like, this is our day. And boy, are you going to be disappointed. Because nobody can know when they come back. And if you think you know, then you automatically punt the date on your own time scale. So it's like a carrot on a stick at the end of your nose, and you just keep walking towards it, but you never get any closer. That's how it works. You have to let go and let God, I guess, if it's going to happen. There are a few of these things, though, where it's, you can see obviously this kind of fixation. And then there's some folks where when I see the thumbnail, my reaction is, all right, is this just what flailing looks like? Iran, Israel, was it all fake? Now, I saw the thumbnail and I was like, oh, certainly the attack on Israel, that they had a nuclear program, that was fake. Like, some sort of, it was propaganda for the reason we attacked. Yellow cake all over again. But down here, this is the part that made me very curious. Iran is not what it seems, Tucker explains. And this has got a very Glenn Beck kind of ooze all over it. And I'm hoping we're going to find out that Iran actually doesn't exist and we all live in Snowpiercer and the elites are keeping us inside a petri dish of, surrounded by icicles. I'm curious. Sorry to have to drag you through this. And, his voice is bad enough, but the dual forehead butt cracks make it even worse. Perhaps we'll get a story about demon sex to liven the conversation up.
As you try to figure out what's going on,
I've already figured out what was going on. The same thing that goes on all the time. Humans being humans. Vast majority of people are against this, both inside Iran and outside Iran. Leadership gets entrenched because their belief systems or their reputations are questioned or damaged, or the resources that you need from whoever you're going to invade reach a certain point where you've made a return on investment decision and the cost and value of human life is less than that, so off we go. I don't know why this looks any different than any other like bullshit war of choice, and how it's starkly different than World War II.
Keep in mind, you can't really get the full picture because the clampdown on information. So,
also, what clampdown? For real. What clampdown? He's literally on the internet saying all these details. Like, he talks nonstop. His show is on constantly. He's doubled the amount of output since this shit started. Where's the censorship? Where is it? He's got almost 2 million subscribers. If anything, I'm the one being censored by calling bullshit on this stuff.
In the conversation that we're about to have, we're going to go through what we think we know. In some cases,
Also, this fucking royal we. It's you dumb motherfucker. It's the Tucker Carlson show on the Tucker Carlson network. See this little thing right here? What the fuck do you mean we? Don't blame your idiotic bullshit ideas on your staff who you pay to be there. You rich son of a bitch.
we might be wrong. Just want to be.
Oh, we? Oh, yeah. Which part? So the parts that are right, that's you. I've always said, of course, obviously, this is the kind of thing, but we sometimes get it wrong.
Honest about that up front. It's very hard to know what the truth is at this stage.
Yeah, but why bother? I mean, is that the point of your show? I mean, you're effectively just doing a Teletubbies show for maggots at this point.
I like wood.
I don't even know
Deeper and longer.
what the purpose of this show is.
Really at any stage, but particularly in the face of this kind of censorship. But
Again, what are you talking about? What censorship? What are you not being allowed to say while you're saying it on the fucking internet? What are you talking about? This drives me fucking crazy. I can't, like, people bitching about being censored while every video they post has at least 100,000 views, whether real or botified. It doesn't fucking matter. You're not being censored. You're literally on the air right now. This is, God, I hate this. It's really aggravating, especially when this asshole got, basically punted from the right, not for his political stuff or even his anti-Israel stuff, but because of ball tanning and demon rape. Like, they were just like, all right, buddy, see you later. And okay, yeah, there's a place for that, but it's over there on the fringes of the internet. If you want to go be the dweeb Alex Jones, go make your money, asshole. But we've got kind of a pretend news network to keep going.
we're going to try to be as honest as we possibly can.
Are we? Oh, good. But everybody, I guess it's everybody then. We are? Okay, so that includes me and my viewers and everybody. We're all going to try. I don't know how I'll be able to do it. It's so hard to not be a liar. What? Run that by me again, asshat. What the fuck?
Up front, it's very hard to know what the truth is at this stage. Really at any stage, but particularly in the face of this kind of censorship. But we're going to try to be as honest as we possibly can and provide as much information as we possibly can, given the limitations.
Okay, also, providing as much information as you can is a material reality. I have access to the encyclopedias. Somebody has checked out a few of them, so I don't have D and I don't have H and I don't have the T's. Those are still out. But I can provide you as much information as I can from the rest of those books minus that information. That is not an act of honesty. That is not an act of a lack of I don't know, effort on my part. It's just the material reality about access. That is in no way aligned with when I open the rest of the books that are available, whether or not I will tell you the truth. So trying to be honest and trying to give information are two separate things. Trying to give information is you against material reality. Trying to be honest is you admitting most of the time you're a fucking liar. Like, I'll try to be honest. What? Chat room, is this it? It's not just me, right? It's not just. It's just. Try to be honest. Just try. It's new to you, I guess. It's difficult.
Because this war matters, maybe
unlike the other ones,
more than most wars.
Really? What would you give it on a scale of 1 to Afghanistan?
This war hasn't been settled. Clearly, there are parties who would like to settle it, but...
What do you mean, settle? What, define settle, shithead? Settle saddle. No, you mean one side wants to win it, the other side wants to win it, other people want it to settle. Some people have, a thumb on the scale towards ending the threat forever. That would be the GCC states, arguably Israel as well, and Lindsey Graham. And then there are the Russians who don't want to lose their leverage partner in the Middle East, and they need all those Shahed drones that Iran might be using in fighting it, so they'd rather it end sooner, and they're your buddies, so clearly it's hard to read whether or not you give a fuck about the actual reasoning or outcome of this particular war when you have other bedfellows, And it's not lost on me that, Putin kind of qualifies as a demon, so we'll leave that there.
No one person is in charge of whether it gets settled.
Amazing. That's an incredible insight. Yes, in a conflict, no one person, no single individual, or you'd call them and tell them, oh, wait, you did and you failed.
Israel is a partner in this war, probably the first war the United States has ever fought with a true partner with decision-making authority.
I'm sorry, you think we told the Brits where to bomb during World War II?
It's very different from going into Afghanistan with a NATO coalition. Norway didn't have veto power over anything.
Yeah, but their commitment was a lot lower as well.
But Israel does. And so it's...
Do they? Here's the thing. You're assuming that they can tell... All right. This is all based on this bullshit premise that Trump doesn't want to do this. That this isn't his idea. That Netanyahu has fucking put a Kabbalah spell on him, or hypnotized him, or talked him into it. Instead of, just very possibly, that Donald Trump is every bit the sociopathic land-grabbing prick who desperately needs the world to think his dick is bigger than a Smurf mushroom, and this is an opportunity for him to distract from the Epstein files and the shitty economy at the same time, and he's wagging the dog like anybody else. This idea somehow, and he's been using this spell language, and Lindsey Graham fucking, Mastarzala Pearl Clutchin has cast a spell on Trump and made him do something he wouldn't otherwise do. Fuck you. He's doing exactly what he wants to do. And if he's that fucking dough-headed, why were you ever for him? You have two options here. Either he is responsible for his actions, or you knowingly voted for someone whose brain is rotten Gouda.
Complex, very complex.
Oh yes, it's weird. This might be a shock to you that some of life is complex.
Iranians have their own, of course, completely different agenda. So it may not be settled anytime soon. We're praying that it is.
Are we? We are, all of us. We are praying. We are. Are you? Okay. If you're in a group of 8 people and they're praying, and you've got your head down, you can say we're praying, even if you're not praying. But if you're praying for something, you just say, I'm praying that this doesn't, and blah, and I'm sure you are too. Inclusively expressing that you pray and other people pray and whatever. But he can't do that because that would be an obvious and ridiculous lie. That he only prays when other people can see him praying, which he's not really praying, he's just got his head down. And in any of those situations. This annoys me as well. This is the fucking plural pronouns, the fact that this motherfucker has gone religious they them on us. Is this what they mean by the woke Reich?
But more fundamentally, this is a different kind of war.
Because it's 2026 and not 1914?
So over the course of our lifetimes, most wars the United States has fought, all of them really on some level wars of choice. The U.S. hasn't been invaded.
I mean, Pearl Harbor, War of 1812. You could argue the Civil War and the servants across the pond that supplied the Confederacy in an attempt to upend stuff. War of 1812. Did I mention that one? So,
really since 1812.
right.
So all of these are wars that the U.S.
And again, he leaves out the Civil War and the fact that foreign interests helped the Confederates.
government decided to become involved in or start. And pretty much all of them were initiated on the same pretext, which
Also, by the way, he leaves out, I guess, Pearl Harbor.
is we are preserving the order of the world, the international order, the rules-based order, whatever you want to call it. We're preserving the way things are.
The New World Order, which is better than the Old World Order, but only by a little.
And this country we're going to war with violated the rules. Therefore, we're going to war to restore the rules.
That's right. We're basically, these aren't bombs. We're just slapping their wrist with a ruler.
That is not what we're watching now. There's some evidence that the president of the United States, Donald Trump, thought that's what this was about.
What would that evidence be? That he said it to you and you bought it? Again, stop. What is the pathological need these motherfuckers have to let Trump off the hook when he's the person making the decision?
Iran wants to get nukes. They can't have nukes. We can't have more nuclear proliferation. You can't have rogue states with nuclear weapons. Weapons of mass destruction are bad. Got it. We've heard that before.
Is it true, though? Do you think it's true? Or are you just saying that's words you've heard before and therefore they have no meaning because they've been said before? Because we've heard you say this before. We've heard you argue for the Iraq War, for example.
Of course, the effect of this will be to radically accelerate proliferation around the world, because what's the lesson of what we're doing right now? You better have nukes or else you're going to get regime changed. No one's trying to regime change North Korea because they have nukes. So the incentive
Right. Yeah. We're aware of this. You're just catching up to that concept now?
for every small but reasonably wealthy country, as of right now, is get nukes as quickly as you can, because you're going to get regime changed if you don't, potentially. And if you're a bystander to a war and happen to get caught up in it, like the Gulf states are right now, no one is going to protect you.
Oh, sorry, they're caught up in it. Okay, there you go. So Israel is whispering in Trump's ear and making him run up the stairs of the Capitol and attack police like they're Ray Epps. And the Gulf states are just caught up in this because they're geographically between Iran and who they'd rather hit, even though they're directly striking sites inside these other countries, because they know these countries are playing a part in this, and they know that those countries are their mortal enemies as well as Israel. It's just there are no massive Jewish movements in these other countries, so he doesn't. They don't count, I guess, as villains or as anything but bystanders in this.
These security guarantees, formal and informal, are not real. Downtown Dubai can still get destroyed and your economy destroyed for a generation, because who's going to stop it? You're on your own.
Well, I mean, I guess that's why we have security. We do have security pacts with them, and they are firing some stuff back, but I think they're just acting as supply routes right now. I think, quite frankly, they just want to see how much damage we can do to Iran before they can run up behind us as we're kicking them while they're on the ground and go, yeah, take that, out of safety. That would be the thing. Also, they're close by, so if there's going to be any blowback terrorism, they're the low-hanging fruit in that. So that would be who they'd get hit first.
So countries that feel they're sincerely on their own have every incentive to have the most effective deterrence possible, and that would, at this point, be nuclear weapons. So you're going to see a lot more nuclear-armed states.
Why? The idea is that if Iran doesn't have one, the rest of those states can handle what they need with conventional weaponry.
In the next few years, without question. So if the point of this was to preserve the status quo on nukes, it had the opposite effect.
Well, then what's the option then? Let Iran have a nuke and then the other countries won't want one? What are you talking about? Then you've got mutual assured destruction across the spread. So damned if you do, damned if you don't. So we're just in a Tim Pool quagmire of either version of reality ends up with everybody in a nuclear Mexican standoff. So who cares if they attack then? What's your fucking point? This is so stupid.
But the point of this was not to preserve the status quo at all.
It was to sell nukes?
It was to overturn the status quo, to usher in a new age.
Definitely not the age of Aquarius. I don't remember it glowing in the dark. So a new age of nuclear mutual assured destruction in the Middle East on purpose? Is anybody else getting anything but that from this? Let me know in the comments section, as they say on the interwebs. Anybody? Is this how you're... Are we just watching like a contortionist magically managing to be on both sides of an issue at the same time while still looking like their head and their feet are connected to the same body?
That's the point of this war. This is a pivot in history, and a lot of the people supporting it know that. Now, they're
To what?
really in two groups. One are people motivated by religious impulse. That would include some Israelis, some religious Jews, not all, but some.
Thanks for doing the not all, I guess.
And that would include some Christians,
Not all.
Zionists.
Evangelicals. Not all, I guess.
And both groups believe that they're
Sorry. The end time Muslims don't factor into this at all? Well, I'm just saying there's, as the band Extreme once said, there's three sides to every story.
helping to accelerate the end of history.
Well, haven't they been doing that all along? How do they not?
Armageddon, the end of time, the return of the Messiah, however you want to describe it. But
The big boom boom in the sky?
both groups believe that history is linear. It began in one place and arrives at another
So do you.
with the return of God to earth.
So do you. And
And then history ends.
sorry. So when God comes back, there is no past. Because that's what history is. History is just the logged past, I guess. So the end of history is the beginning of... What is the... I'm real confused here. So the rapture just erases his... How do you... How does anyone get judged for sins if the past ceases to exist? So would you start over? Is it like everybody touches base in a giant game of spiritual tag?
We are redeemed or damned, depending.
Oh, okay, good. Well, on history or on our part in history? Because I gotta say, dude, I don't want to judge lest I be judged, but you're kind of fucked.
So that's the basic idea. And both of these groups seem
Very basic.
under the impression that they can force God's hand, that they can bring this about through an act of will or violence, which is to say both groups believe on some level that they are God.
Well, no, that they're God's manager or whatever, God's executive assistant. They're like, we have a whole thing. Like, if we're gonna end history, we got to do it while time still exists. So you could possibly.
They are not. They're not in charge of history.
Oh, thank God. Okay, I wasn't sure until Tucker Carlson told me.
You can't force God's hand.
Are you sure?
He's in charge. You are not.
All right, if you say so. I think of it as sort of a partnership, Is a ray separate from the sun? Is the sun anything without the rays that come from it to the earth? Am I not an integral part of that sun as one of its rays? I'm just fucking with you. Yeah, the end times, something, whatever. The sandwich board, the end is nigh.
But both groups have lost sight of that. So that
Well, and again, subgroups of subgroups. There's a lot of resource war fighting and kind of territorial human bullshit like it's been going on for centuries that really doesn't have anything to do with the end times at all. It's just got this veneer of the end times over top of it. But I mean, it would still happen if this was about oil markets, gold, cobalt, and the shifting world order, don't you think?
that's their motive. And then there are secular boosters of the war, promoters of the war, planners of the war.
Well, yeah, you need some. You can't have somebody kind of D&Ding it and rolling the dice and saying the Lord tells me in the tea leaves. You gotta kind of get some tacticians, some sciencey people to do the little sketches of the word and play Risk. Maybe not.
And their vision, while not strictly speaking religious, is not really so different. They would like to usher in rule by technology.
I see. Okay, so this is the Iran war is being started by two groups. one who thinks that God will come back if they do it, and one who thinks that AI will become God if they do it. I love this. Saner words have never been said. And boy, is this a great conversation to have if you are spent most of the day sucking your own dick over the fact that you voted for Donald Trump and did everything you could to get him elected. So now you got to concoct this cockamamie. I'm fine. I'm all right. Bear with me.
Whether that's mass surveillance, whether it's transhumanism, the merging of man and machine, but the rule of the earth by technology.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of people who want this, and a lot of people who think it's inevitable. And
those people would be Peter Thiel and J.D. Vance and all of his buddies. So you're trying to tell us that J.D. Vance is in on this too, and he secretly wants it, but this is just their back way of doing it and still being electable in the next cycle by kind of standing off from it and letting the religious people take all the heat for it so they can move in and go, these crazy religious people are doing all this shit. We should have an algorithm that chooses who lives and dies, right? Is that what you're saying? And J.D. Vance can float in with that one?
This is the moment where that age of history begins.
Mm-hmm. So again, AI is God versus God is coming back, and both of them are smarter than you, and you have mysterious ways. So, would you even know the difference, Tucker Carlson? I ask you.
With this war.
Also, Iran is a. Are you saying that Iran doesn't exist as a country, and Iran is not what it seems? Is that? Or are you just saying this whole fight isn't just a territorial fight about nuclear bombs? It's about the fact of the end times. Two groups of people are trying to goose the end times, and Iran is their ticket.
So again, this is not a war that is confined to the region. This is not a war between the United States and Israel and Iran. This is not a war designed to prevent a rogue state from getting nukes.
No, that's ridiculous. That's what the guy you voted for is saying, and it's been his main reasoning for over a decade, I guess, in theory. It's because he and the Gramovites in the White House and Musk and his crowd are joining together to start a World War III techno-domination. My brain is getting hot.
Never that. This is a war designed to usher in a new age of man, a new period in history.
Okay, real quick. I almost understand why you think the Iran war would be the reasoning, because Israel's one of the players in it, why that would bring about the Messiah, and that's why they would believe that the Iran war will end up with the Iranians missing, or the Israelis, deflecting on purpose, like doing a bank shot and destroying the temple and bringing it back and triggering the end times, or whatever. Because of the players involved, any war about them always gets this talk about it. I'm confused as to why the technocrats would need an Iran war to get this done. Unless, of course, this is about destroying oil as a fuel source, because people are like, I'm tired of worrying about this shit every time we turn around, so therefore electric car.
A new world.
Yes, a new world order?
And so
a new world with an order?
Wars like that are fundamentally theological in nature.
Even if they're technocratic in nature. Great. Thank you very much.
That's theology, whether it's
of course,
secular or religious. It's still theology. These are articles.
No. There's technical measurements as to whether or not, say, AI reaches AGI or ASI, and whether you can trust it on a statistical level to make decisions about fucking stoplights and train schedules and water purification, science, and then on until we have some sort of like loop of satellites around the planet that pulls the sun's light, so we never need petroleum for everything. Like that, those are measurable details. I mean, maybe there's a measurement when Jesus comes back and you're like, there he is. See the glow coming out of him? That's a nice throne. Okay, these are my measurable abilities.
Of faith. This is an eschatology. And wars like that aren't resolved quickly.
Well, I mean, at some point they're gonna have to shit and get off the pot that Jesus is either coming back or he ain't, I guess. How long do you think they'd ride this out until they're like, I don't think he's gonna show?
Because we're talking not just about disarming a madman. We're talking about changing the nature of life on this planet forever.
Right, but do you think they fight the war the entire time to make that happen? Do you think AI will be the one, like they're testing AI to fight our battles for us there until it becomes sentient and punches Jesus in the dick when he comes back, and then they'll wrestle for control like a Godzilla, Mecha Godzilla? This is so fucking stupid. I'm sorry.
So big stakes in the minds of the people pushing this, and that means
Imagine how the people who are in the middle of it feel.
this is going to go on for a while, declared or not. And as it does, how do we respond? Well, we pray, number one.
Yeah. As long as you don't vote against Trump and the Republicans, I guess that's all you can do, right?
One, the most effective thing you can do is to say prayers for peace. Number one.
I don't know. I mean, I think not voting for these assholes again. Biden and Harris didn't start this shit. Obama didn't start this shit. Obama put together a peace deal unit. He may not have liked it, but he didn't fucking, none of them were gunning to invade that fucking country. And Harris was not a fan of Netanyahu. She had disdain for him almost more than Biden did, and he hung up on him and called him a motherfucker. So there is a difference. This isn't just like, well, Jesus, take the wheel. The Jesus lovers did take the wheel, and they handed it over to a pedophile's wingman. And that guy is making the kind of decisions that a pedophile's wingman makes. Prayer is not the answer. You have to change your behavior as a member of the electorate, and certainly as a person who speaks to the electorate.
One most effective thing you can do. But two, keep an eye on.
By the way, he thinks words create reality, and therefore that's witchcraft, and that's what's being used to control our president. And so what he wants you to do is pray, which is say words silently or out loud to change reality, which sounds, I know, a lot like a spell, but isn't, because they're calling it a prayer.
On the effect of this war on us here in the United States. We're prosecuting this war. We're the main combatant here. We're spending the most money, dropping the most bombs. Mm-hmm. And how do we do that?
Airplanes and ships, mostly.
So the key, really, whether you think this is insane, as a lot of...
Your show or the whole conversation? Like, I think the war is insane, certainly. But I think this charts right next to it.
People do. Probably the majority of the country believes that. Or you think it's necessary. Some people do believe that. Fox News viewers believe that. Democratic leaders believe that in the House and Senate. But no matter what side you're on...
Do they? Do they now? Mm-hmm.
Why
then? I'm curious. Why didn't they push Biden-Harris to invade while they were in there? Why didn't they push Obama to do it? Where was the big shove from Democratic leaders in Congress and in the Senate going, eventually we're going to have to do this? Where was the Democratic Project for a New American Century document driving this back to the fucking 90s when they were planning this domino drop? Where's the Democratic version of that document? Where is it? There's a huge difference between reacting to battles that Republicans start and dealing with the aftermath and deciding, let's make a plan for the next 2 decades where we end up knocking off the leadership of a bunch of countries. And that is soundly in the Republican camp.
The United States needs to behave with honor. Now, why is that? Because that's the whole point of being the United States. You can't have wars in a democratic republic or in a country where the people supposedly rule, where their consent is necessary, whether it is or not. That's what we tell ourselves. You can't have wars unless you believe that you are, on the deepest level, better than the people you're fighting. We're not...
Right. Yeah, I think by and large, we don't think we're fighting the Iranian people. It's the leadership, and so that's why that's an easy sell, especially amongst the people in Trump's circle. Plus, everybody in Trump's circle thinks they're better than everybody else, even in terms of the average American.
Savages, they are, therefore we get to kill them. And we've always told ourselves that, and in some cases it has been absolutely true. Whether we can kill them or not is another question. It's a moral question, but as a sort of matter of civic engagement.
Yes, yes, killing savages is a requisite of our civic engagement, I think.
Population has to believe they're better than the people they're fighting, or else you can't have the war. And you're really sort of flirting with revolution at that point, and we don't want.
Yeah, us striking Iran and killing the leadership over there is not going to start a civil war amongst the fucking people because of a disagreement over the worth of the Iranian people. What the fuck? I mean, I guess he's projecting on the Ukraine and Russia stuff onto the internal fights of MAGA. And of course, I guess a little bit of the internal MAGA. Yeah. Okay, so the civil war he's talking about has nothing to do with you and I, dear viewer. This is between him and all of his other dipshits. Oh, thanks for subscribing. You know, if we got to 100,000, it would really help things. I'm just saying.
That. So in order to believe you're better than your opponent, you have to be.
No, you don't. Wait, say that again? Hold on. This, of all the diluted horseshit, this might be the stupidest, most diluted thing.
So in order to believe you're better than your opponent, you have to be.
Are you nuts? The vast majority of people who think they're better than other people are the sinners Jesus warned you about. Do you see with the, if you let he is without sin cast the first stone, those are the bad people. But and the bad people think, of course, they're better than other people. And they don't have to be, they don't need any evidence. What are you talking about? Trump thinks he's better than everyone. As long as he doesn't try to walk 2 flights of stairs in a hurry, isn't asked to do anything mechanical with his hands, from cooking to changing a tire, and as long as he doesn't pass a shiny surface and have to look at his fucking face, he thinks he's better than every person on the planet. He's not, but he sure as shit believes it. Even if he hates his face, he can come up with other reasons why other people are ugly.
You have to behave with honor.
You voted for Trump 3 times.
And so, for example, if innocents are killed, girls at a school, to name a current example, you have to believe that it was accidental, and you have to say out loud that was wrong.
It is wrong. I'm just saying, by the way, it is wrong. Some people are saying it not because they're trying to trick themselves into being a better person. It's that it is wrong. Yeah.
And in this specific case, the bombing of a girls' school next to an Iranian naval base that was apparently the school of choice for officers at the naval base. These were the children, the daughters of the people we're fighting. You have to believe that was accidental.
So it wasn't. So Hegseth hit it on purpose. Your guy asked your other guy to hit this on purpose.
Despite the fact it was hit twice, 40 minutes apart, looks very much like a double tap, which is to say a bombing and then an attack on the people coming to rescue the injured. That's what it looks like.
Well, yeah, I mean, and so your criticism, I'm sure, is with Pete Hegseth and his lack of rules of engagement, and Donald Trump, who is telling him, warfighter, blah, blah, blah.
But as an American, you have to believe this was a tragic mistake.
No, I don't. I can also believe it's a criminal act by my own leadership. I can hope for a day when we have some sort of reconciliation where Donald Trump goes to fucking jail, along with Hegseth. And we do have an airing of who made the decision on these targets, or lack thereof, who had a wanton disregard for human life, and that they face consequences about it. And that would be an indicator that we are better than people who kill other people wantonly. Because that's what matters. As long as you're running interference for Trump and Hegseth, which you are absolutely doing every fucking day that you blame Lindsey Graham and Netanyahu for casting a spell on these two evil motherfuckers, you're part of that clique.
But we have to verify that. We have to know for certain that it was in order to keep our honor. Because if you wake up one morning and you're living in the kind of country that thinks it's okay to kill not simply military officers, but their daughters.
We don't. We fucking don't, you weirdo. And maybe this is, you know what, this might be a reaction. Let's read it as this. That what makes the most sense? That this motherfucker walks around amongst normal, regular, average, middle class and below Americans, and his temperature is that when he's sitting in a fucking Chili's or an Applebee's, and he asks them about it, like, hey, fuck them. They were just going to grow up to be, suicide bomber ladies. So what are the chances that happened? Or this asshole's viewers that he has worked so hard to cultivate clamor for this kind of shit, and he's really trying to shove the toothpaste back in the tube with his own viewers, who are absolutely leaning into this.
That country's not worth fighting for. Now, speaking for myself, I am assuming that was a tragic mistake.
Because you're better than us. Because you're assuming everybody else isn't, but you are, thank God. So you have to assume it's a tragic mistake because you voted for Trump 3 times and you backed Hegseth as his, and the change to Department of War.
But it's important to get to the bottom of it. How did this happen?
Yeah, we know. And it's not going to happen until Democrats run things. So tell everybody in your fucking audience to go vote for Democrats and shut the fuck up.
Were these autonomous weapons that made the decision? Was there an AI program that targeted this school that thought it was something else? Or thought it was within bounds and targeted it, bombed it, and then bombed it again 40 minutes later?
I don't know. Was it a great idea to bring Musk and Doge in and make technocratic decisions about whether people deserve their Social Security or not?
If that's the case, no more autonomous weapons for us. Should we really be making life or death decisions with a machine, with no human interaction, no human...
Also, again, you're assuming they are, and this also pushes this. This is like, this is just another way of excusing Trump and Hegseth. That's what this is. If they put the AI in charge of it and just said, let the algorithm decide targets, fuck it. And they did it because Netanyahu said, we use it sometimes and it works great for us, or whatever. They still made the fucking decision. Hegseth and Trump still made the decision, said yes. So it doesn't matter what the decisions are. If you throw a fucking boomerang and it's got blades on it and it goes around and fucking, sticks in the wrong person, you still threw the fucking boomerang. Even if you weren't sure, like, I thought it was going to come right back, but it kind of went off course because I guess I didn't throw it quite right, or we weren't ready. I hadn't learned how to do it well enough. It doesn't make any difference. You still made that decision. You are still morally culpable for releasing the Terminator. You don't lose that just because it went and killed somebody. It fucking killed people. No, you killed them because you made the decision to use that technology. This does not absolve Trump and Hegseth. And arguably, it makes it worse because their wanton disregard for human life and their like half chub about, Palantir level technology is I guess they think it's going to give them plausible deniability or a distance from the moral the reckoning that would come with it. And they don't. It doesn't matter. If they chose to let AI make these decisions and it made the wrong decisions, it's their fucking fault for making that decision. It does not let them off the hook. And the answer is not, well, we can't let AI do that anymore or whatever. No. It's not enough that you go, well, I guess we shouldn't have. Maybe you don't put out a grease fire with water. How about that person can't be in charge of dealing with fire ever again? Because if they made a shit decision, or anything of importance, because if they made a shit decision like that, it's probably an issue with their rationale and their logic.
sign off on that? Of course
And their lack of morals or ethics.
not. That's grotesque. To hand the power of life and death over to a machine?
Also, again, he's making excuses. Let me be real fucking clear. Tucker Carlson is making excuses for Trump and Hegseth. He wants to create this idea like, we just let AI choose the targets and they died. We're not okay with that, are we? Like, yeah, you are. You voted for Trump, who's going to bring in Elon Musk, and we're going to make this all super efficient. And brought in Hegseth. This is all about war fighting and, not political correctness. This bullshit about like worrying about civilian deaths is how you lose fights and end up in quagmire. So fuck them. You voted for that. So like it doesn't matter if they did it by sending fucking like tanks in with guys with orders just to kill anybody they see, or a fucking Terminator wind-up toy. It doesn't matter. It's the decision that is moral or immoral.
That's just transparently insane. Of course, you would never do that if you were a civilized country. And we can't do that. Did we do that? We need to find out. And if we did, we can't do that again.
Jesus Christ. We didn't do it. We didn't. Biden voters, Harris voters, Obama voters, we didn't do it. Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth, with your help, did it.
And we have to apologize for it. You can't kill the children of your enemies. In fact,
yeah. We know. Why do you feel the need to have to tell this to your audience?
you can't kill innocents, period.
You have Pete Hegseth's fucking number. You guys used to work at Fox. He'll call you queer and hang up. And that's what you want from him.
Because we're the West, and we believe that people are responsible for the sins they commit, not for the sins their relatives committed, or their ancestors, or their future descendants, or people who look like them. We don't believe that because we believe in the individual soul.
Do we?
Each person individually.
What do you believe? Because it sounds like you pick and choose groups. Whether it's Jews or gay people or immigrants. Apparently those people have a collective soul. Yeah. But you, of course, born with a silver spoon up your ass, you have an individual soul. I'm responsible for what I do, not what the people I voted for repeatedly do, even though I knew they were going to do it. That's what he's doing. This is all about excusing Trump. I'm sure there's a little bit more of that, but I think we get the point. This is very strange. This is another version of end times prophecies. Ladies and gentlemen, buried under the knit cap of a man who's doing his best to impersonate a black crayon after someone's done a night sky, is Dimpool, who is doing this from a vocal booth he has set up in his toilet. I'm not quite sure. But just in case you thought we might be at the beginning of this war, this could be the end. This could be the end. My dopey friend. Hit the like, share the show. It's House Sparks Megaworldwide.
Iran's basically threatened to kill Donald Trump, and it's not really surprising considering he's bombing the heck out of their country.
Yes, it's almost like we've seen this before, Iraq.
But, right off the bat, with everything going on, we've got a bunch of updates. There are ships now moving through the Strait of Hormuz, getting that oil and natural gas out of there and getting it back into the international market. And Trump says
and that's what this is really about.
The war is very nearly complete. That they have basically obliterated any of Iran's capabilities.
Yeah, he said that last year too. And here we are.
To fight back at this point. Now, guys, I got no problem saying I am an intervention. I am a regime change skeptic. I think our track record on this stuff.
Skeptic. I'm okay with it sometimes, but only when it's somebody I voted for and I have to back it up, and I'm worried that if the power dynamic changes, I'll have to admit that healthcare and housing are probably better strategic goals for the American people than whatever the fuck this is. Yeah.
It's very, very bad. But Donald Trump sure pulled off a quick regime change in Venezuela.
No, he didn't. Same regime. He just took the president. Everybody else is the same.
In and out. And
Yeah, and again, not a religious leadership at all. Arguably more transactional than other democratically elected leaders in other countries. So probably, and using that as an example of why this will work in Iran is, what's the phrase? Oh, it's, I'm trying to think. It's,
Dum, dum,
yeah, that's what I was wondering.
dum, dum, Snoop.
Yeah, that's,
as long as things remain stable, I'm glad things are. And that being...
all right, good. As long as things remain stable, I'm glad they are. Imagine that sentence coming out of your face. And imagine the sort of pinching reflex of stupidity. You're like, what the fuck did I just say?
said, as it pertains to Venezuela, people need to understand the oil assets, the oil refineries, and that oil, it's ours. It's been...
No, it's not. We don't have nationalized oil companies, for one. It's not ours at all.
ours forever. We sent the companies in.
Oh, did we sent them in? We did. So Exxon and Chevron and BP, they Lukoil or whoever the fuck, like they follow our orders. These are national industries. The American taxpayer sent them in. So this isn't a war. This is just another oil subsidy.
Back in the day to start developing all of this under a treaty with Venezuela, and they betrayed us and stole tens of billions of dollars
Of their own oil.
worth of our oil equipment.
Sure, our equipment.
So getting that back, that's called justice and accountability. Now, the issue with going into Venezuela...
Is it though? Because again, those companies made a deal with somebody who broke the deal. Who's that sound like?
The fear is destabilization. You pull out Maduro, maybe other wacky, crazy people step in, and then you get a power vacuum. And that's what we fear with this regime change stuff. Now, as it pertains to Iran...
Yeah, it's much lighter there. I mean, it's about serious things like oil in Venezuela. But in Iran, it's, oh, shit, right.
I can't say that I'm happy about everything that's going on.
Well, then why are you having any input at all? Also, in what world is anyone happy about everything that's going on? I guess this is the kind of language you have to do if you want to excuse Trump. Again, round 2.
But I will say what's really pissing me off this morning is that all of these articles are begging for us to just lose everything for no reason.
Sorry, lose what?
Donald Trump's not a perfect guy.
How dare you, sir? Leslie Groff and Jeffrey Epstein and Sarah Kellen and Leon Black and Les Wexner, they would all disagree. Thank you very much.
I am skeptical on striking Iran.
It doesn't sound like you are.
We'll see how things play out.
That is true. Time does move forward.
If they can get the Strait of Hormuz back open, then good. And
thank you for taking such a courageous political position on this.
To be honest, the Iranian government, not good people. Not
wow. Number 2. Zinger after zinger.
good people. But so far, they have remained steadfast despite the fact we've wiped out, was it 40 or 50?
Steadfast?
Of their top brass. I don't know how you get actual regime change through strikes alone. Because
So this is Tim Pool getting to we need boots on the ground.
missiles don't occupy street corners.
Yeah, there you go. We gotta do boots on the ground, according to military tactician and Trump suck Dimpool.
Now, they're saying the plan may be to get other countries, the Saudis, maybe the Kurds, to come in and enforce these changes. Maybe Iran will be broken up, whatever it might be. But I will just say this of the
Are they?
United States. You don't have to like Trump. You don't have
Well, that's good, because I fucking hate the dude.
to root.
And by the way, it's not because I have some sort of derangement. I hate any dude who is an adjudicated rapist. This is my baseline. Anybody who would be friends with somebody like Jeffrey Epstein for almost 3 decades and then go, amazing guy, super fun to be around, even likes girls on the younger side, and then wants people to believe he didn't know what was going on. Like, fuck those guys. Even, he's not, I'm sure there are other guys who fit that. Fuck Les Wexner, too. And Leon Black. See how this works?
For this war or anything like that. But at the bare minimum, you don't smear, lie, and advocate for our destruction.
Huh? Sorry. Smear, lie, and advocate for our destruction. Okay, maybe, I don't know, maybe he's got a Hassan clip or some shit.
Is that, can we agree on that? Apparently.
No, because I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. It's a straw man. I don't have to agree on a straw man. It's a waste of my fucking time. What are you talking about?
We can't. I'm pulling up these articles, and they're just insulting and attacking Trump. Everything's negative, even though we're kind of in limbo.
Okay. Things can be wrong on principle, even if they work out. Also, things can work out in the short term and then have blowback long term that's very dangerous that people can be right to be concerned about. Also, they can be aware that no matter how much he's getting involved in Iran, he's still covering up the Epstein files, and that alone makes him a fucking scumbag. So looking through the prism of the Epstein files, looking through the prism of his economic horseshit and his tax breaks for rich dudes and his $5 trillion added to the national debt instantaneously in the last bill because he wanted the debt ceiling moved so he wouldn't have to ask again because they know they're going to lose the midterm, so he just want to keep spending money however he wants. That maybe, just maybe, sensible people can make concerned observations. I won't even say judgments. Concerned observations about yet another flippant disregard for human life from Jeffrey Epstein's wingman. And also, this is an illegal attack, period, with shifting reasoning that gives everybody flashbacks to Iraq. So, I'm sorry, what are they supposed to say that's nice? Go ahead, Tim Pool. Blow Trump for us for a minute.
Gas prices went up.
Okay, that's not going to help.
They started coming back down yesterday when Trump said the war is very nearly complete.
Very nearly complete.
The media's response is that Trump's giving a wishy-washy answer. Why? To further exacerbate market uncertainty? Yeah, because that'll help him win the midterms, I guess. I just can't stand people. I'm sorry. I mean, like, I don't mean like literally.
Sorry. So because Trump is giving diametrically opposed answers than what his Secretary of War and his generals are saying in regular briefings, and he's like, I think it's basically done. I don't know. And he's shooting from the hip in an attempt to bring the markets back, not based on reality, but because of the elections or because of, him trying to walk back this stupid decision, if he indeed is. That's the news's fault for saying he's giving mixed messages when that's exactly what he's fucking doing.
Every single person, but politics, man, is a dirty, dirty, disgusting game.
What the fuck are you talking about? Sorry, you want to talk dirty and disgusting? Try crypto and international FinSec, which is where the Trump family has decided to get into business because real estate wasn't skeevy enough for them and wasn't full of enough money laundering.
How about this? We say, guys, show me the proof in the pudding, right? Is this going to work? Is this the right thing to do? Minimize collateral damage, restore oil trade, stop Iran, whatever it may be, without destabilizing the entire region. And instead...
What? Sorry. What? Who is saying this? Sorry, so the press is criticizing the fact that what you just said isn't happening, and that's their fault. What the? Hold on. Back the fuck up. How is this the press's fault again?
We say, guys, show me the proof.
We say, guys, who the fuck are we talking to? The military? Hegseth? Trump?
In the pudding, right? Is this going to work? Is this the right thing to do? Minimize collateral damage, restore oil trade, stop Iran, whatever it may be, without destabilizing the entire region.
Gee, I wonder if anybody else has considered that as a potential message or downside and asked the administration repeated times, and they've brushed it off.
And instead, the media just lies about everything.
Okay, and what you just suggested is that the press ask the president if this is going to work and restore oil trade without destabilizing the region, as if they have a right to give orders and not ask questions. None of those were in the form other than will this work was in the form of a question. That's journalism. The rest of it is up to the electorate, which apparently your answer is how dare you?
Now we got this story. Top Iranian security official to Trump: be careful not to get eliminated yourself. I can't say I'm surprised that they...
How dare the Hill report this? What the fuck does this have to do with what you were just talking about, which frankly was gibberish?
He would like to kill Donald Trump. He killed their leader. And then I think like the next 40 guys in line. And that's war, baby.
Those 40 guys weren't in line.
That's war.
Literally, the next guy in line was the son, and he may be injured. We don't know because details.
As much as people are asking the question, why won't Hegseth or Trump or anybody just call this a war? And the best
for legal reasons, constitutional reasons, separation of powers.
Response, the best argument I've heard is that when Congress declares war, it activates a bunch of powers of the president, the executive branch, and Trump's not trying to have those circumstances activated.
Right, yes. He's worried he'll have too much power. That's why they're not saying this. It isn't because when they do this, they have to go ask for permission, where it triggers the constitutional reasoning behind the separation of powers, where the Congress has a say and can only declare war. The reason they're not calling it a war is because Donald Trump is worried it'll give him too much fucking power.
Basically, it's an interesting point.
Basically, it's interesting that bullshit nonsense I just farted out of my forehead about Trump is concerned that he will be given too much power if he declares war.
Declaration of war allows for the executive branch to assume more control.
Yeah, and Trump doesn't want that. Good point. Good point. Holy fuck. I don't even know. What the hell? I mean, this is nuts. All of this is nuts. These people are flailing all over themselves. But this is... I honestly thought we would we would hit peak fuckhead with Tucker's clip. This is fucking bananas. This asshole thinks Trump is concerned that he will have too much power. And that's why... Then... Okay.
Control of industry for the purpose of a war effort, and the attitudes of the federal government and the reason why they don't want to call it a war has nothing to do with
Okay. Now the federal government doesn't want to do this. The Department of Education, the FDA, is that who's concerned about it? They asked the CDC and FEMA. They were concerned that FEMA would vote against calling it a war because the federal government. You mean the administration, you dumb motherfucker?
I don't know, egg on their face. It has more to do with how it...
Sorry. We said this isn't a war. It is now. Fuck. Now what I got to tell my people?
Will impact economics, decision making,
It's already doing that. What are you talking about?
draft, all of these things.
Draft? Just because somebody declares a war does not mean that a draft is inexorably tied to this. What? Do you think this is like do you think declaring a war, it's like a machine pops out one of those plastic cards you break open in a missile silo and, Mr. President, this is what you got to do now. You've declared a war, so we got to have a draft and there's got to be we got to do another Woodstock and we got to do a bunch of protest suppression. It's legally in here, sir. You have to kill a civil rights leader. I mean, it's tradition, sir. What?
Which could get triggered if they say it's a formal war.
What? No. Just no. Calling it a war doesn't establish a pre-described strategy. It can be a war if you send 100,000 troops or 12.
Now, I'll just say this, as far as anyone's concerned, it's a war.
Damn, he's making decisions, ladies and gentlemen. He's finally, you take that. This is a war. Stupid rules.
The question is
The question is now, does Tim Pool have to have a draft?
kind of war that's going to require U.S. personnel to go in, and I think
Boots on the ground.
that's what the Trump administration is trying to avoid.
Yeah, sorry. If you call it a war, we have to put boots on the ground? Are you fucking stupid? That's why he doesn't want to call it a war? Because it'll make him put troops in where they are not needed or wanted or functional? What are you talking about?
So they don't want an official war declaration.
This is moronic. This is brutal.
It were. Now, again, I think the problem is the United States going and bombing a bunch of countries for the last 70 years without getting any approval from Congress. So, kind of weird.
War on terror. They called it a war. The authorized use of military force was, in its own way, a declaration of war on terror networks. And the definition of what made something a terror network was defined by the president. And you can only do that, something like that, post 9/11, in the same way that Pearl Harbor helped drive us into World War II because we reacted to it. The same thing is true. And it was, again, Republicans who already had this bill drafted.
But again, the argument is that if the president is allowed to engage in international military operations for defensive purposes, unfortunately, that's the excuse they use every single time they go to
Who's they?
war with a foreign country.
So all of these are wars.
And let's be serious, guys. Vietnam was a war. It's the Vietnam War.
Yes, that's how we refer to it in the history books. Yeah.
And didn't get no approval from that. What was that? A military preemptive retaliatory whatever. And that's what,
Yeah, I think that's what the budgeting said, a military preemptive retaliatory whatever act of 1963.
they're calling this one. The Hill reports Iran's Supreme National Security Council secretary on Tuesday threatened President Trump after the president warned Iran against stopping oil from passing through the Strait of Hormuz. The sacrificial nation of Iran doesn't fear your empty threats. Secretary Ali Larijani wrote, even those bigger than you couldn't eliminate Iran. Be careful not to get eliminated yourself. I would just like to stress the U.S. is measured in all of this.
Yes, thank God. Nothing says measured like Pete Hegseth's neck veins while he's broing out, doing kind of like a cross between a Fox and Friends segment and a steroid experimentation channel on YouTube.
Look, again, I'm not advocating for anything the U.S. has done, but we have nukes. We
Okay, so anything we do shy of nukes is us being measured, even if we hit a girls' school.
have many of them. We have a variety of sizes.
Do we?
We have what is referred to as the independently targeted re-entry vehicle. That is, we can fire an ICBM with 12 separate nuclear warheads that will go into space and then rain down on all.
Yeah, but just because we don't use our biggest weapon doesn't mean we're being restrained. If police, for example, without a warrant, stormed into your house and simply used their handguns against you and killed everybody in your building or whatever, you wouldn't say they were being restrained because SWAT has machine guns and a tank-like vehicle, and they didn't use that.
The major cities of Iran and turn it into what is that? What's the
Salad.
word?
Rubble.
Trinitite? Is that it? Trinitite? Everyone says turn it to glass. Someone told me on an IRL chat, they were like, no, it's called Trinitite. Trinitite is a glassy, typically green radioactive residue formed from sand fused by the heat of the first atomic bomb. Indeed.
That is funny. Yeah.
It's also known as Adamsite. It's a rare artifact.
Jesus Christ. Okay, he's just going down a hole. So we'll leave sad and broken Tim Pool there. Now, at least we can say this, that there isn't any fighting going on amongst the maggots about this. Oh shit. Israel first, America never. America last. Lindsey Graham goes full Israel first shill on Fox. Ouch. It's, well, you got to be careful because I don't know if you know this, but according to Tucker Carlson, Lindsey Graham has witch powers and can whisper words into your ear and Manchurian candidate you into doing whatever he wants, which is gross. This is Stephen Chowder over here and Captain Cracker, Lindsey Graham. And this is apparently the difference between Israel first and America first.
To all the anti-Semites, to all the...
And anti-Semites? Obviously, he and Trump have been talking.
When they gaze upon Yosemite,
Semenites, I think is how it's pronounced. But you'd have to ask J.D. Vance.
To all the anti-Seminites, to all the isolationists, I don't believe... Forget it. I'm not with you. I'm with Israel. I will be with Israel to our dying day. They're the best ally we could hope for.
You should be with Israel where they serve the interest of the United States. And whenever that ceases to be the case, you point it out.
Yeah, he's operating on the premise that they're our only real ally in the region. And what choice do you have? What's the other version? And the idea that Stephen Chowder and these other assholes are pretending that any Muslim nation is preferable to, in their mind, to Israel is fucking ludicrous. This is just a sort of audience capture. Don't get me wrong. I think Trump is an asshole and an idiot for getting us into this stupid mess in the first place. But I'm enjoying the fact that they have to violate their own sort of debate rules to attack each other. It's interesting how that wall falls down. You're watching House Sparks Megaworldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, etc., etc. Venmo.
This is the kind of rhetoric that makes people think, and it seems, frankly, to me, like Israel is a greater priority to someone like Lindsey Graham. President Trump, he condemned, or I guess he would say put on blast, Israel for bombing some oil-related sites. He was
Yes, we bombed a girls' school. And we're mad at Israel for hitting oil sites. Like, hey, we were going to steal that.
Pretty upset, and he told them not to do that.
Why?
Which brings us to the opposite of that. I think it's important to contrast. President Trump is clearly, whether you agree with his action or not, he's
not
leading the dance. This is all about China. He's been pulling those levers, and he's leading the dance with Israel, saying these are the parameters. We are the...
Okay, so this is the other thing, too, is that Israel's not dragging us around. We're doing this because Iran's in China's pocket, and we got to push back against them, even though they are a strategic partner of Russia in the Ukraine war. But these assholes can't be seen to be siding with Ukraine because a lot of their bot money will dry the fuck up. So they got to bounce it over to China.
Ones who are setting the rules here. You don't go and bomb this oil site. How much you want to bet that Israel plays ball with that going forward? People can be mad about it happening, or people can recognize for the first time you have a president who says, no, we're not doing that.
I'm sorry, why aren't we doing that? Why is oil the last straw? I mean, most of us remember, especially around the Iraq war and stuff, was no war for oil. Trump saying, yeah, this war is for oil. We can't drill, baby, drill here in the United States. That was just bullshit that I was telling everybody. Overall.
That was just bullshit, Joel.
We can't drill any more than we've already drilled in the United States. So what options do we have? We can take some of Venezuela's oil. We can take some of Iran's oil.
Enter Lindsey Graham, which brings us to the latest installment of You're Not Helping.
Apparently he is, according to Trump. By the way, this is awesome, just that they're having this problem amongst themselves. I love the smell of flop sweat in the morning.
I'm sorry. Donald Trump would totally say that. Don't worry. It happens to lots of us.
Not me, of course, but ask Melania.
Look, never go full Lindsey Graham. Here's what he did yesterday on Fox News.
The Jews have been
By the way, Donald Trump has gone full Lindsey Graham, for the record.
down that road before. To our friends in Israel, God bless you. I'm with you in every way. To all the anti-Seminites, to all the isolationists, I don't believe. Forget it. I'm not with you. I'm with Israel. I will be with Israel to our dying day. They're the best ally we could hope for. Finally, to my friends in Saudi Arabia.
I disagree with
I've been your
pretty much all of
biggest
that.
champion. I think the Crown Prince has taken Saudi Arabia in a completely different direction in a good way. But here's what I want to say to Saudi Arabia tonight. I'm willing to do a mutual defense agreement with your country to give you protection in perpetuity. Under the agreement I've been pushing, and I hope we can continue to talk about, if you're attacked by Iran, we would go to war for you. To Saudi Arabia, our embassy was hid in Riyadh. Do you not have an obligation to join the fight with us? You've yet to do that. So if you do not believe the American embassy being attacked in Riyadh would trigger mutual self-defense, maybe we shouldn't do a treaty with you.
Jesus.
Yeah, these are your guys. And here's the thing. This wouldn't be a problem at all if Donald Trump didn't want to do all this shit. Unless you're like Tucker Carlson, you think Lindsey Graham is just a fucking wizard, and Trump hears his voice and just immediately starts, I gotta follow whatever he says, I gotta do it. It's that South Carolina lilt. It just drives me crazy. If you believe that, I don't know how you can vote for Trump being that fucking dough-headed, but ultimately, he made these decisions. Why are you laying this off on Lindsey Graham? All these things that he's saying that you're bitching about are completely fine with Trump.
Hey, you know, like, how do you have the authority to do that?
Because Trump's listening to him, you fucking tit.
Lindsey Graham? Also, I disagree. Israel's the greatest ally. By the way, there's something really uncomfortable about a guy with that accent saying, the Jews. Like, the Jews, I'm not with you Seminites. Israel's the greatest ally we could ever hope for. Nope. They're a better ally than Iran. I know some people disagree with that. I certainly
I'm sorry, was that the choice?
they would choose aligning with Israel over Iran. They are not the greatest ally we could ask for. Absolutely not. They've had some missteps. They do some things.
Well, I think beggars can't be choosers in that region of the world, I think is where he's going. But please continue.
I don't like. I will be with Iran. I will be with Israel till my dying breath. Why?
Till the day I die.
I don't think he's familiar with that, but yes.
Yeah, no.
Why? Shouldn't you be with America till the day you die? This is the problem that people, it's not anti-Semitic for people saying, I'm tired of that rhetoric. This seems like someone has an ulterior motive. You should be with Israel where they serve the interest of the United States And whenever that ceases to be the case,
you move on to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, and Bahrain and the UAE like Trump has. Oh shit!
Pointed out.
You might start to notice that this war it's kinetically about Israel, but everybody else benefits. So these other countries, one of the reasons they're hit is because Iran knows that they're supportive of it as well, and that they need to move away from oil over time with their Project 2030 and their Project 2040. So the idea that Israel and the United States will take the hit for them, they're just happy to sit back and watch it happen. And if you're seeing somebody that's on the hook and not having to follow the money and follow, like, who benefits, Kibono, who benefits? Saudi Arabia and the UAE, by and large. Israel has to commit troops and arms and shit like that and take incoming missile fire. And this is a known in this situation. The other countries can, benefit from the two of us picking up the fucking tab for all this.
This is the kind of rhetoric that makes people think, and it seems, frankly, to me, like Israel is a greater priority to someone like Lindsey Graham than the United States, especially in contrast to Donald Trump. Look,
who's doing exactly what Lindsey Graham is asking?
Contrast that Israel's the greatest ally we could ever hope for. Donald Trump saying, "Stop bombing the oil sites, you Jews."
Well, that's not the first thing.
Yeah, that's not at all it. He wants them to stop bombing the oil sites, but he's fine with everything else.
He said, you remember, they don't know what the F they're doing.
They don't know what the F they're doing. I think they do. They're the best.
Yeah.
They're the best among us.
Oh, that was the Israel-Gaza stuff. And by the way, again, largely because it was impacting his electoral power.
Of their hats.
They make me look big.
So, look, this is the thing. I get it. When you have people who blame the Jews for all of the ills of the world, that's a problem. But to deny the valid criticism and skepticism of someone like a Lindsey Graham, especially as it is in diametric opposition to the approach that this president has taken.
Yeah, that's crazy. I have to say, let's see, if Trump were sort of the ilk of people that were like, sorry, this is, let's see. Like what would be, Trump's kind of feeling about this? Let's see, this little guy right here. Let me back this up a little bit. Oops, scroll up, you stupid. Okay. Pause. Here you go. Boom.
But I actually asked her, I'm going to get her in trouble with this, but I actually asked her once, I said, so Miriam, I know you love Israel. What do you love more, the United States or Israel? She refused to answer. That might mean Israel, I must say. But I actually asked her,
yeah, he followed that up by saying, we love her. Yeah.
Promise and officially recognize the capital of Israel and move the American embassy to Jerusalem.
Which can be tied to triggering October 7th.
Isn't that right, Miriam? Look at Miriam. She's back there. Stand up, Miriam. Stand up.
I'm playing this for Stephen Chowder.
Miriam and Sheldon would come into the office. They'd call me. He'd call me. I think they had more trips to the White House than anybody else I can think of. Look at her sitting there so innocently. She's got $60 billion in the bank. $60 billion. And she loves, I think she's saying no more. And she loves Israel, but she loves it, and they would come in, and her husband was a very aggressive man, but I loved him. He was a very aggressive, very supportive of me. And he'd call up.
He'd call up and say, how much do you want?
She really is.
Yeah, hold on one second. This is...
Officially recognize the capital of Israel.
Okay, that's the same one. I wanted to find like the part where he's like, "We love her." After that, you refused to answer. Here you go. Yeah.
Stand up, man. Stand up. Miriam and Sheldon would come into the office. They'd call me. He'd call me. I think they had more trips to the White House than anybody else I could think of. Look at her sitting there so innocently, supportive of me. And he'd call up, "Can I come over and see you?" I say, "Sheldon, I'm the President of the United States." It doesn't work that way. He'd come in with the...
So apparently it does work like that?
They were very responsible for so much, including getting me thinking about Golan Heights, which is probably one of the greatest things to ever happen to Israel.
Sorry, they got you thinking about it? Is that according to Tucker Carlson, wishcraft?
Miriam, stand up, please. She really is. I mean, she loves this country.
He's in Israel when this is in Israel where he is. These remarks.
She loves this country. Her and her husband are so incredible. We miss him so dearly. But I actually asked her, I'm going to get her in trouble with this, but I actually asked her once, I said, "So Miriam, I know you love Israel. What do you love more, the United States or Israel?" She refused to answer. That might mean Israel. I must say. We love you. Thank you, darling, for being here. That's a great honor. Great honor.
How do you think like maggots by and large absorbed that talk and still do, by the way? I mean, obviously it's on heavy rotation on Candace Owens' show, for example. See, I think I even have, yeah, here you go. Yeah, she even has her, like, this Candace Owens' show, The First Casualty of War is the Truth. This is him pushing Netanyahu's stool in. That's Miriam Adelson. And then this is him with Erica Kirk, who he just put on the board of the Air Force Visitors Committee or whatever, where they make decisions about stuff. Charlie had been on that, and now Erica has taken his place. But the opening is...
All right, you guys, happy Monday. Just going to pause our Bride of Charlie series just for one day because there's just so much going on right now.
Yeah, it can't be all Erica Kirk all the time when Trump has started a war to distract from the Epstein files and, by and large, the, according to you, FBI failures into looking into it. I mean, this is another great way to hide the fact that, I guess, according to you, his own people in the FBI and the Army were involved in assassinating Charlie Kirk to help his wife get control of $1 billion NGO. It's just wonderful. It's a great series. It's hilarious.
Oh, Iran is literally on fire. Bill Ackman wants me imprisoned, apparently, for suggesting that American sons and daughters should object to being slaughtered for Israel. Why so triggered?
Well, I mean, I don't know how you would even go about jailing someone for saying something like that. I think he just... they're throwing treason around like a bunch of dipshits,
Perhaps because this entire war has been engineered by Israel. Maybe it's that.
Are you really going to start with just Israel? You don't think this is some sort of occult practice that's been going on for centuries?
Donald Trump has very clearly betrayed the American people. You need to accept that. I've had to accept that.
Oh, sorry. I don't normally, like to dwell in this kind of Schadenfreude. But
Trump has very clearly...
Sorry,
all right, you guys...
Hold on. Oh, shit. I jumped forward on this.
...should object to being very clearly not the commander of the armed forces. Bibi Netanyahu is. That's because this entire war has been engineered by Israel. Maybe it's that. Donald Trump has very clearly betrayed the American people. You need to... by Israel. Maybe it's that. Donald Trump has very clearly betrayed the American people. You need to accept that. I've had to accept that. Donald Trump has very clearly betrayed the American people. You need to accept that. I've had that. Perhaps because this entire war
what?
has betrayed the American people, you need to by Israel. Maybe it's that.
Maybe.
Donald
Yeah.
Trump has very clearly
He's what?
betrayed the American people. You need to accept that. I've had to accept that. He has
that's
very
right.
clearly
Well,
clearly betrayed the American people. You need
All
to
right.
accept that. I've
Sure.
had.
Okay. What if we assumed this behavior and that's why we didn't vote for him in the first fucking place, and we don't view it as a betrayal, but more as a feature, not a bug of maggot politics, and that it's not so much that he's suddenly turned on you, but that you've been a fucking sucker this whole time, you shithead, and that we all knew Trump was going to do this. Does that ever occur to these assholes?
To accept that. He is very clearly not the commander of the armed forces. Bibi Netanyahu is.
That one's good too. Sorry, what?
He is very clearly not the commander of the armed forces. Bibi Netanyahu is.
I see. So Pete Hegseth takes his orders directly from Bibi Netanyahu. Great.
Adelson is. And I believe that Charlie Kirk was the first casualty of the war in Iran.
Oh, shit. Okay. I thought the title of this, the first casualty was the truth. She literally thinks Charlie Kirk was the first casualty of this Iran war.
And it's also my belief that he was intentionally sacrificed.
Woo! Okay. Yeah. So let me, in case you haven't caught up on the Halle Berry, Alex Jones fusion that's going on in this lovely woman's Pottery Barn living room. She thinks that Jewish occult practices are playing out in this, and that American soldiers and anybody else involved in this are blood sacrifices to Baal. Okay. Not Donald Trump just simply being a limp dick, aging rapist who is making evil decisions based on macho legacy fantasies that he has, and the desire for oil and greed and shit like that, and basically carving himself a chunk of wealth off for his sons in his own industry after he leaves the White House, whatever he thinks. It couldn't be that. It's that this Jewish occult something, they're eating hearts and stuff. This is basically the Mayans at this point.
Those who practice occult worship. I'm going to explain to you guys what I mean by that.
Please do. And I would suggest everyone take some notes on this one, because it kind of goes all over the place. A bit of a Rube Goldberg kind of a theory. No offense, just because he has a Jewish name.
Beyond that, it is completely obvious to anyone that is paying attention that
Obviously. She went to the Tucker Carlson School of I don't know, crowd manipulation.
America's desire was to become the president one day. So let's talk about all of it.
Sorry, yes. So the next thing is, by the way, Erica Kirk is going to be president. The first female president is going to be Erica Kirk. And Republicans are going to vote for a woman now because she was Charlie Kirk's widow. Tell me you don't know how Republican electoral politics work without telling me you don't know how Republican electoral politics work.
Welcome back.
You can argue that there were people within the Republican quote-unquote establishment, if anything, who talked McCain into taking a woman on as his VP to scuttle his chances.
Back to Candace.
Yeah, whatever. Fancy. Her opening's very fancy. I'm jealous. I need to get some pictures of myself leaning up against a wall. Yeah, that'll work.
Tucker Carlson.
And some very dramatic music.
He is trending right now. By the way, he's trending always. What he is doing right now is so remarkable and so brave. And he...
Yes. Imagine him risking his podcast when all he has in the bank is somewhere in the order of $100 million. If only the rest of us could be so brave as to risk pennies on the dollar of what we make just every year.
Is challenging the conversation, changing our understanding about the way politics works. I mean, he's just been so objectively honest and...
Not according to him. We just watched a clip of his and he was like, he's going to try and be as honest as he can, but no promises.
And again, brave in what he is doing. But he's trending right now for a rather obscure reason. It was
He had sex with a demon trucker, and he has the scratches to prove it.
actually a simple tweet that has a lot of his routine.
Is it really? I don't know if you're gonna show it to us. Is it gonna be simple?
Haters melting down. This is the tweet. I'll show you that. He wrote, "Pray that the spell breaks and the world is saved."
Yeah, pretty much pedestrian faux Christianity. Not surprising at all.
That's all he wrote. Of course, we should pray. But what is triggering them about that? I think I know. I think it's the term, a spell. Yeah, a spell, because a spell implies some
magic. It's the world of illusion.
Some sort of witchcraft or magic is at work, and the timing of this
or an old torch song. I'll put a spell on you.
Tweet really is something, because I have had it on my heart and on my
To the black magic woman. Like, it could be that as well. I mean, it also could be a euphemistic spell, pray that the spell is broken. Like, it's like if it said, pray that the fever is broken and sanity restored, and everyone's like, the whole world doesn't have a fucking fever. What do you believe in, climate change now?
Mind all weekend to find the right words to convey to my audience that what is going on in this world is literally and exactly that. People that practice occult magic are in this moment pushing for World War III.
Why?
I think that's hard for a lot of people to process, because we grow up and we learn that
this is nonsense.
In effect, really 3 major monotheistic religions in the West. So
in the West?
Idea that actually,
according to you, by the way, there's only 2. There's only 1 in the West, and the other 2 are trying to fuck up the West, right? Muslims and Jews, according to her, are a part of this Kabbalistic evil shit, and Christianity is the Western religion, which you could argue it's filtered through European paganism, and that's why. I mean, basically all of it's, whether it's saints or, fucking Christmas or Easter or whatever, are all, co-opted pagan holidays or whatever, Anyways, I'm sorry, you were saying something about demons. Aleister Crowley, Satanic Panic.
There are people that are in charge of Western governments that
Donald Trump.
They're in essence really pagan.
He's not a pagan. He's a hedonist. He doesn't give a rat fuck about God or Jesus or any of that stuff. He's just, he's just a rich asshole who wants a pleasurable life at the expense of other people, and it almost doesn't have any value unless it is.
And could be making literal blood sacrifices to
Are figurative ones okay?
Various demons, that kind of...
Mainly because that's what communion is.
evades us. It evades our understanding of the world, because we look at Hollywood, we look at culture. Hollywood in particular has been ever intentional in assisting sort of the implausibility of such a narrative, right?
Oh, is this because sci-fi movies? Because everything but, I think, maybe 2, like Interstellar and all these other, point to a lack of soul? Or are you blaming The Exorcist for not being scary enough?
Movies, books that are published.
Television shows. Puppet shows. Magazines.
If they delve...
Other forms of media wherein entertainment and information is conveyed. Bibles. No, sorry. Okay.
Delve into the topic of witchcraft and spell casting.
Oh, okay. So this is, we're going back to Bewitched is the reason we're all in this or whatever. They, like, you think they swapped out Dick Sargent and Dick York? One of them was taken and destroyed. It was blood sacrificed. That was not a recasting.
It's reserved really for the category of fantasy, right? It's fantasy if they're discussing it, or it's being mocked. Hocus Pocus or Harry Potter.
Yeah, Harry Potter doesn't mock the idea. It's a kid story, but also Hocus Pocus is a comedy about it. But I mean, what was that series with the the girls or whatever, the girls who were witches or whatever, and I mean, you could argue that X-Files messes around in some of it and takes it a little more seriously. I mean, Bewitched did make it adorable, I will say that.
Really?
I Dream of Jeannie, same thing, yeah.
What sort of crazy...
Witches of Eastwick is fantastic. I love that movie. And I would say that takes it fairly seriously, right? And takes the blowback aspect of it very seriously.
Person would believe that ancient pagan practices are still happening in the real world. Okay, maybe in some remote...
What if it's techno-modern paganism? Like, Elon Musk showing up at a sex party with his mom in a Mephistopheles armor with ball on the front of it. Does that count? Probably not.
Third world village in Africa, but in the developed Western world?
The African pagans?
At the tippity top of government, you would...
Well, the tippity top, that's clearly Trump.
Be
the trumpety top.
Mad. To even...
Yes, Charmed. Thank you. That's the series. I didn't watch it, but yeah, that would be. I think that took it fairly seriously. Like it was a charming show. I think.
Suggest it, even when it's actually.
When are they going to make a movie of Charmed and bring them back or whatever? How about they could call it Charmed? I'm sure.
In our faces. Take for example this recent Paris fashion show collection from a brand known as Materiel Fécal. Just so you know, that translates to fecal matter.
Yeah, it's a shit show. I agree. It's almost like these assholes deal in forced irony. Material fecal. That's how I would call it. You sure you're not reading a criticism of it?
Wow. Must have really been an inspired show. Fecal matter. Wow. No, so in your face, but don't you take it the next step further.
He's got little holes poked in it, so I don't think he's going to bump into anything or whatever. I think that's defacing I don't think it's a real dollar because he'd go to jail for that.
And think that, these people could be into some dark stuff.
Okay, that's definitely some dark stuff. And there's nothing darker than wearing oversized garments.
Would make you, again, a crazy person. What about the much celebrated vision?
Can I just say for the record that most fashion shows look like gnarly horse shit, and because you have to keep ratcheting it up every time, there tends to be a lean into it. And I'll give you a good example of how this kind of spirals out of control for marketing purposes. Is that you get people accusing Kiss of being knights in Satan service, and so to ratchet up that automatic news cycle bump that they get from people who flip out about it. You have Motley Crue coming in, putting a big pentagram on their fucking album cover and calling it Shout at the Devil. And it's not obviously Shout with the Devil, but you start ratcheting it up to the point where it becomes absurd because everybody's like, that's a genre. They dress like that. You don't hear a bunch of shit about like Norwegian death metal from assholes like this, right? Because it's just a thing. Nobody cares. And the same thing's true of Fashion Week. These assholes are always on a wind-up.
Dual artist to the stars, the Serbian one. She's also an artist to the politicians. She does...
Oh, this is the spirit cooking lady who,
Spirit cooking.
Yeah. We're going back to Pizzagate.
Literally, that was what was in those emails. Marina Abramovic. She puts on performances in front of the most powerful people in the world.
Yes, I guess they're either bored, artistic, or silly.
Performances like in 1974.
In 1974, back when they started all this, obviously you can track, this is when the Iran War really started.
When she sought to, quote, re-evoke the energy of extreme bodily pain using a large petroleum-drenched pentagram, which the artist lit on fire at the start of the performance. Standing outside of the pentagram, Abramovic cut her nails, her toenails, and her hair. When she finished with each, she threw the clippings into the flames, creating a burst of light each time, burning the pentagram, representing a physical and mental...
Sorry, so this was the world's first satanic manicure? She clipped her toenails and her fingernails and her hair, and she threw it into the... So, we like to refer to this down south as the devil's makeover.
Purification. That's just art, guys. That's just art. Don't you
It's not just art, it's style.
think a step further? No, come on. That's just art. And on the matter of science, even when it's in our faces, like when the world's leading nuclear physicists are
Oh, this is the CERN sacrifice.
caught, cloaked before a statue of Shiva.
Well, they weren't caught because you don't know actually who they are. That's the thing. Even when you filmed some people and the person who was filming it didn't film before it or after it, they just kind of like filmed up to this moment and then ran away. And so you never see any faces. They didn't move into another position. They didn't film the rest of it. They didn't, run down there and go, hey, what the fuck are you guys doing? Is that woman okay? Like any normal person would. And another person in the building would have filmed that happening when those people turned and threw their fucking fingernail clippings on them and set them on fire in a purge of some shit. I don't know what the fuck. But that's caught means you know who they actually are. Just saying. That would help immensely.
Stabbing a woman in an occult ceremony for CERN. Well, you guys, that's just science. That right there that you are looking at.
No, those are just Converse, I think.
On your screen.
It looks like a student film nobody finished editing. But also, again, they apparently killed this woman and no one rushed to her aid, even though the head sorcerer can't even get a fucking robe that fits. What do? Wash it in cheap soap and put it in the dryer? Never put your fucking evil cloak in the dryer. It shrinks. Now you tell me, Mom.
Was science the best science, the best that science has to offer, the most.
Or like a student film group using the fact that there's a giant statue nearby and nobody really around and they could just film in front of it for a student project they never released, or that was the student project ultimately.
Genius people. And indeed, I would agree that it's modern science. In fact, the entire thrust of what was deemed the scientific revolution, a move away from the natural order of things and towards empiricism, rationality.
Vaccines, washing your hands before surgery, and perhaps even after, wiping your ass.
That began because of a long...
Fuck you, science, and your bullshit. I'm not washing my hands. That's not natural. Defecation is natural. Underpants are not.
Organized Freemasonic effort to...
I've been called out. For those of you who don't know, I'm a Freemason, so I love it when this shit goes on or whatever.
To remove humanity from our innate spiritual understanding.
Okay, by the way, she'll start talking probably about symbolism and the evil of symbolism and all that kind of shit with a torture device behind her on a desk because of one of the people that died on it. She likes in particular after lots of other people were killed on similar items.
Okay, they wanted you to know that you can now ignore your God-given instincts. You can set aside your subconscious. That subconscious that comes online and lets you know that something is not right.
Yeah, alcohol it smells funky like pure alcohol, so why would I want to wipe that on a cut that I just had? My blood is natural. There's a hole in my hand, so why would I want to take this stinky thing and put soap in in a natural wound? My instinct tells me that stings and it's bad.
Yeah, you can just set that aside and trust the experts instead.
Yes, the experts that made an anti-parasitic for horses and they made it taste like green apple so that horses would eat it and tell you don't inject it up your own butthole because it's not healthy at those doses because it's meant for a fucking racehorse. And yet, your soul, your instinct, your conscience tells you, don't be afraid. Ram it, rub it up your poop chute, cord hole.
In fact, the experts constantly reinforce to us that our subconscious is wrong.
Yeah. Like, just because there's a yellow line in the middle of the street, it's not going to stop you from driving into oncoming traffic. We're all supposed to agree on this? That this is some... What if my soul tells me, fuck it, I want to drive like I'm in England all of a sudden? Nothing's really stopping me till later, like death, the destruction of my vehicle in prison, but still.
Or it's just weird. And in some cases, it's immoral. It's devilish, even. You want to go see your grandmother while she's dying in the middle of COVID?
No, that's not the devil's. It's to keep her from dying or spreading something that's killing her. Would be the theory.
What are you, Satan? You're being guided by Satan?
Satan? That's very seldom do you get to hear Satan pronounced with an apostrophe where the T is. It's adorable. It's a little close. Satan. Satan. What are you doing, Satan?
And if you don't listen to Dr. Fauci, that's who you're being guided by.
The devil himself.
Because there's...
Who's to say Fauci is the devil?
No greater source of authority in their world than the government, which...
Well, I mean, I think, the government represents the people, and the people have decided, for example, that we've agreed on the shape of stop signs, and we've agreed on water standards, that salmonella is bad, that in some cases even that Congress should decide whether we go to war or not, shit like that. That's
control. That's the idea. And I promise you on everything, that when Savannah, my manager, came down the stairs and delivered the news that Charlie had been shot, I went into my husband's office and I cried, and I immediately said to him, he was betrayed. Charlie was betrayed. And my husband said back to me, you don't know that. We don't know anything yet. And I
said, I will hunt down everything I can that confirms that and ignore anything that doesn't. Again, I kind of don't give a shit about this fight amongst themselves. I think we will find out from the trial. And even after the trial, people like this will decide that it's true or not based on whatever their previous bias is. And this is a fight amongst themselves. And I think it's a tragedy when anybody is killed for their political beliefs. And I think it's wrong. So it's pretty easy to be me right now. But man, between them and like the maggots fighting over this fucking dog bone, woof.
Said, I know. Now, empirically, that argument fails. I get it. But no one can explain why or how I had the sense of dread in the very week leading up to Charlie's assassination. No one can offer why I knew that there...
Well, we have to believe that you actually did. And we don't. And you seem to be the kind of person who would rewrite over your experience the week before. A moment of worry stretches out to a premonition, and that it didn't happen the week before, it happened months before, but in your mind it happened much closer to the actual event because of people like that. And it sounds like, it sounds like you're being a sorceress. So you think that you're having premonitions, that you have your own built-in Ouija board. Now, which is fine. If you think you can tell the future, that's fine. But it sounds a bit like the kind of pagan blood sacrificey shit you're warning us about.
There was danger coming specifically to a school.
You in Charlie Kirk, you in danger, girl.
And why I felt that it was related to bees, why the feeling was so overwhelming that I hired extra security and took my podcast off air and pulled my children out of school. I had never experienced a dread like that in my life, ever. No one also can explain.
Also, none of us know if that's actually true. I don't know if she didn't do a show that week because she was doing something else. But in retrospect, sure, go knock yourself out.
Or even offer an...
Clearly, by the way, I guess I, as a duly designated representative of Hollywood, have to applaud her for supporting the concept of witchcraft and sorcery.
Explanation as to how exactly it is that Charlie knew he was going to die young, and that his death would specifically be related to Turning Point USA. He said he knew from the moment he signed on the dotted line that he was going to die young.
So it didn't occur to him that once he had kids to quit and move to a ranch and get the fuck out of Dodge?
What exactly is the expert explanation for that deep internal knowing that he...
The kind of pathological self-involvement that comes from people who would run an organization like that and say the kind of shit he said would believe that they were effectively martyrs in their own mind. I mean, look at Iran. They're full of those assholes. Why would it be any different? It's just another phrase for I'm going to be martyred. I'm so amazing. The whole world hinges on whether I'm here or not. So of course somebody like that believes that.
That has now been proven correct. I'll tell you, there isn't one. There isn't one. What Charlie sensed was obviously right. And the moment that Charlie was shot, I knew what happened to him was not random. Okay? He was betrayed. Charlie Kirk was the first casualty of the war.
Who was his Judas? I think it was. I think the problem is that I think it's all Judases, like the entire everybody at TPUSA is a Judas. Is the problem with this? Like all of them? In which case, it's kind of is this a you made your bed, you're gonna lie in it kind of thing? Surround yourself with fucking murderous assholes and don't be surprised when you're murdered by an asshole? Is that what you're trying to tell us?
In Iran. I'm certain of that. And it's deeper than that. I am now of the opinion that he was likely sacrificed. And I want to tell you why I got there. You guys know, if you're a part of my book club, I've been doing a lot of research into
flipping through things, I think it's
Freemasonry. About a month ago, while we...
By the way, she has the same Bible I have. I have that Bible.
Took a break to prepare for our Bride of Charlie series, someone sent me this. I'm showing you, this is what they sent me in the mail. Something that is known as a Freemason Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Now
it's like the Trump Bible, only nobody claims it, and it's you can buy it if you want it. They don't charge extra, and there's not any missing parts of it.
Knew that these existed because of my studying Sigmund Freud and looking into the fact that he had inherited one from his father.
Yeah, but not that model. They're different. Yeah.
The backstory of this one in particular came with a handwritten letter, is that a 33rd degree Freemason out in Oklahoma died, and all of his belongings were left in a home that was eventually auctioned off.
Okay, that pressing of that version of the Bible is like 10 years old.
And the person who had this in his possession, his relative was the person who acquired...
Oh my God, stop acting like it's a fucking antique. Hold on. Is mine in here somewhere? I thought I had it around. It's gotta be. It's out on my bookshelf. Hold on. Speak amongst yourselves. Where has it gone? I had it, we looked at it a little bit ago. Son of a bitch. It's around here somewhere, by God. I do say. Oh, yeah, right here. Sorry. Got it. It's the exact same fucking Bible. Same one. I have the same one. I have the exact same one. Let's see what the printing, the period is like. Let's see, this version of it. Harrison, yes, the original pressing 1951 to 1954 by Dixie Bibles, which was a company, whatever. And then the second one by Heirloom Bible Publishers. There's a lot of companies that make Bibles. And then this one's copyright 1988 by DeVore and Sons in Wichita, Kansas. So it's just a pressing of the Bible. It also has George Washington in his Freemason apron. It has a list of Freemason presidents in here, including Truman, who was the reason my grandfather was a Freemason, so I decided to join because, my grandfather was a good man. And then they have a bunch of like little almost children's stuff about the building of Solomon's temple and like a little breakdown of it in specific verses around these particular things. And then if you're in the Scottish Rite, you join and then you put in your information. I didn't write mine in here, but it's your name or whatever, and they can fill it out for you if you want or whatever. And then it's got some like the George Washington Masonic Memorial and when it was built and that kind of stuff in it and these kind of stuff and where they get their stuff from, why Freemasonry uses the Holy Bible as a sacred text and stuff. The reason Catholics like and the newly Catholic like Candace here hate that Bible and hate Freemasons is because the Catholic Church has had a bull against the Freemasons for a long time because it's a secular organization. You have to believe in a hereafter. You can't be an atheist and be in. But you're, as Albert Pike said, everyone is entitled to their own unique mistake. You can, however we picture God is probably wrong. So be humble and don't think you have all the answers. And now
the home. And they went in and they burned everything in it effectively, thinking that it was obviously just carrying bad spirits.
Sure, okay. They just didn't want to burn the evil Bible, I guess.
But he, for some reason, had the sense that he should keep this one item. For no particular reason, he kept it in the back of his truck.
He didn't want to burn a Bible. Felt a little weird about it.
For over a decade. And when he saw me covering the history of Freemasonry and what they believe, trying to discern what it is that they believe, he felt that this was the reason.
By the way, by and large, democracy and that men have a better place in the world and that without training, men can be particularly shitty and the whole goal is to make good men better. That's the whole thing. Can't make a bad man good, but you can make good men better. That's the purpose of it. And you'll notice when Freemasonry kind of trailed off, the shittier men started to elevate themselves within America. Donald Trump, for example, can't be one because of his behavior. The fact that he's an adjudicated rapist would keep him out, for example.
And he had kept it all those years. So he just sent it to me to provide me further insight into what they believe and what.
Oh, I think she sees the Order of the Eastern Star, which is a pentagram, which is the female version of Freemasonry that kind of came through the mystic period in American culture around the 1900s to 1920, and because it has a pentagram as that, then that's a Freemason symbol, even though, again, the stars and stripes.
They practice at the top of Freemason.
And the Pentagon.
This is not your granddad's Freemason lodge, okay? No, my dad was in a lodge. It was just no, this is not that. That is not what 33rd degree Freemasonry is. So I flipped.
Yeah, it's by and large just old guys who've been in it a long time and left their fortunes to it and supported like the Scottish Rite Temple and shit like that.
Through this immediately.
Again, how would I know? I've never been invited to the Eyes Wide Shut parties, so perhaps she knows something I don't.
After we did throw.
Yeah, Job's daughter's in the Order of the Eastern Star.
Douse it in holy water. I flipped through it. And within the very first
she's good idea. Douse any Bible you have in holy water.
Pages, there was a pentagram with various illustrations inside of it, notes around it. I'm going to show you that now. We just took a picture for it for you to see it.
So obviously the notes weren't from the guy who owned it. It looks like the guy who gave it to you wrote that. What page is that? Hold on. Page. We'll look through this. Important events, family tree shit, genealogy records. The Scottish Rite thing. Yeah, Order of the Eastern Star is what the pentagram is about. That's again the women's version of things. It's in another section or something. Am I gonna have to flip through this goddamn thing for no pun intended? Do we have a page? We don't. It looks like one, but that's not clearly the truth. My page one does not have that. It's the genealogy on it. It's the grandparents. Hold on. Nope. Just the books of the Old and New Testaments. The books of the Old Testament separate and the books of the New Testament together. The fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man is blah, blah, blah. Yeah. All right. She doesn't give me a page. I can't look at it. Maybe it's at the end. Maybe that's it. Maybe there's a, let's see, map of Mesopotamia in case you want to wonder when you're reading stories in the Bible where they actually happened and what the maps look like before the bell maps. Notes. Pictures and drawings. Nope. Okay. Don't know. Anyways, this is the whether your mom and your dad, I guess, were Mason and Order of the Eastern Star.
There at the bottom, And in case you can't see what is pointing to the middle, it says place of sacrifice or worship.
Yeah, the Bible is full of altars. Have you read the Old Testament?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yes. I got news for you. Jesus was a blood sacrifice, weirdo. You take communion. You're eating his body and his blood. You think they invented this shit?
Place of sacrifice or worship in the middle there. So I want you to note that in this Freemason Bible, it illustrates that a sacrifice must be made in the center of a pentagon. That's a
No, it doesn't actually. And I guess technically this ties to, you'll have to ask Pete Hegseth about his own witchcraft in this particular instance. But obviously, the Masons do the square and compass at the top, and there need not be a sacrifice. Everything is, most churches have an altar. All Catholic churches have an altar. It's symbolic of sacrifice and the blood of, I've washed in the blood of the Lamb. Like, good Lord. You know what? Never mind. Take it literally.
pentagon. 5 sides. Like a house.
So that's why women are running the Pentagon right now. So everyone who works there is a lady.
And I thought, how curious that Charlie was indeed seated in the center of a pentagon.
He was? Thought he was under a tent in an amphitheater.
When he was killed. Let me demonstrate that for you. You can see that right there.
That's not a pentagon. A pentagon isn't just anything with 5 sides. It has to be 5 equal sides. What?
Again, it was my independent study into Sigmund Freud that led me to learning about B'nai B'rith, the Jewish Freemason group, whom I believe
yes, and now do Mormons. Yes, everybody's borrowed a version of it.
have been running our country since at least the Civil War.
Sorry, that's the other thing. Jews from the B'nai B'rith have been running the United States since the Civil War. I don't know if that means that they were against slavery, and she has them to thank for the fact that she's free, which I think is a good thing, I would argue. Maybe she would disagree with me. But after we no longer had slavery, apparently this B'nai B'rith group has been running things during which she and her progeny and people have more freedom than would have happened before then. But they're not the good guys. I don't that's just weird. I mean, I don't think it's true, but I think it's hilarious that, I guess they were on the winning side then?
I've done my best to consume and learn about what it is that they believe, what they practice.
Well, maybe your best wasn't good enough.
This is occult mysticism, okay? The satanic panic that happened was real.
Okay.
Children are being harmed. They have been harmed in occult ceremonies for a very long time.
Yeah, I don't think it's the occult ceremony part of it. I think pedophiles like Donald Trump and his buddies just like they're psychopaths. I don't think they think it's magic. I mean, maybe there's people around them that take advantage of that do think it's magic, and so they're fellow travelers. But if you believe that, then you have to believe Donald Trump is a Satan worshiper, which I'm all ears.
This is an ancient practice.
So it works, is your argument? Witch lady who sees the future? Because I doubt it. Maybe I'm too sciencey, but I gotta say, I don't think child sacrifice gives you superpowers. I just don't. Citation needed. Apparently you believe it does.
And this is not to be confused with Judaism in any way. In fact, they rely on you confusing it.
Well, then they're in deep shit because I don't confuse the two. But she's talking to her audience.
Shape or form does this have anything to do with any of the monotheistic religions? Okay.
It sounds like it does, though, because I mean, you're saying that the whole Bible there. So there's a complete Bible in that Holy Bible. This thing is the whole Bible. They didn't go, we'll take out the whole thing where Jesus says be nice to people, whatever. And there's not an extra chapter on eat babies. Insofar as I know, maybe I need to scan over this and check and make sure that they didn't throw in a couple of verses. And Jesus wept because the baby he was eating was undercooked, and he hates it that way. Maybe they redrafted this, ma'am. Fuck, this thing is heavy. Hold on, I'm gonna put this out over here out of the way where I've really got to straighten up in here. I have too many props. Okay. Back to devil worship or something.
Judaism is merely a mask that these pagan occultists wear, just like
okay.
Christianity is one of the masks that they wear.
So Trump's wearing a mask because he's really a pagan. Real quick, I don't really know any real pagans. The only pagans I've ever really seen are in, besides, maybe I was going to say like Vikings or something, and that a show like that, but like People Against Goodness and Normalcy and Dragnet, the movie with Tom Hanks and Dan Aykroyd, which was fucking hilarious. But I don't know. Here's the thing. I don't think Donald Trump has it in him to be an acolyte of anything except his own wanton needs. Right? Does that make sense?
The Star of David, as they term it, is in fact an occult symbol meant to represent King Solomon's ring. There is no way that you can avoid this. There's no...
Yeah, but you'd have an argument that Solomon doesn't play a part in pagan religious practices or Eastern religious practices or Native American religious practices or fucking Mayan or Aztec for that matter. If you're going to say it has nothing to do with the three Abrahamic religions, Solomon's kind of meaningful only in those three. It's not like they're citing him in fucking like Odinic runes.
Way that they can try to rewrite history. It is quite literally known as the Seal of Solomon. I'm going to show you this. This is you.
Right, Hebrew. Yeah, it's attributed to King Solomon, mystical traditions, Jewish mysticism, Islamic mysticism, Western occultism, which is based on Christic concepts of, how do you say this has nothing to do with the three monotheistic religions when it is specifically, it's a predecessor to the Star of David? I mean, Wikipedia being what it is.
This is on Wikipedia.
Are you this fucking dumb?
Yeah, this is...
The answer is yes.
That accessible. We can read parts of this together. It reads.
Yes, we can. But do we absorb the meaning the same way?
It is often depicted in the shape of either a hexagram or a pentagram. In mystic Jewish lore, the ring is variously described as having been given to Solomon, having given Solomon, the power to command the supernatural. Due to the proverbial wisdom of Solomon, it came to be seen as an amulet or a talisman or
an amulet? How many eggs are in an amulet? I'm not wearing a fried egg around my neck. I don't give a fuck. An amulet. Ew. Ew, that's so much fancier. Ladies and gentlemen, an amulet. Ew. Well, I'll be in the drawing room having breakfast. I'll have an omelet with 2 fried eggs. Has she read the story of Moses? He turned his fucking cane into a snake. What the fuck do you think? It's the same thing. That's not mysticism. The Lord turned his staff into a snake and scared the fuck out of everyone. Magic pestilences sent by God. Like, what's the difference?
A symbol or character in medieval...
An amulet. Goddamn.
Magic and Renaissance magic, occultism, alchemy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is literal witchcraft.
Yes, it's literally not. It's literally supernatural beliefs of people who believe that God is has a material impact in the world. There's no more witchcraft than Moses turning his staff into a fucking snake, you dipshit.
We cannot beat these people, and we cannot win if we refuse to even recognize what it is that we are up against.
What difference would it make? What are you going to do? Cast an alternative spell?
We have to recognize what it is
and cast and get some Eye of Newt.
Who it is that we are up against.
Apparently it's Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth, but you can't see that. So I guess it's some fucking witches in Salem.
And again, it has nothing to do with Christianity.
Kind of does, though, because it's from the Old Testament story, where it's, Solomon's temple and all. It's all kind of important to the Abrahamic religions.
It's got nothing to do with Judaism.
Kind of does. It's literally the symbol that's on the flag of Israel right now, I think.
That is why, as is further stipulated on this Wikipedia page.
Damn. And yeah, you got it? It's fucking Wikipedia. So, what more do you need? What do you want to do? Read it out of the Bible?
The Seal of Solomon was once featured on the flag of Nigeria.
What? That's amazing.
And the flag of Morocco. Those are not known to be Jewish countries.
No, this is sacred geometry has shown up in a bunch of different places, and the kind of overlapping design of it is cultural. It's masculine and feminine intertwined is the idea that a lot of people think of that as kind of a primitive sex symbol. People who are easily panicked by ick will often say this.
Freemasons worship Solomon as the master architect. They believe that he gave them the keys to build and therefore control societies. This is how...
No, the great architect is the generic word for God, and that's not Solomon. And the skilled carpentry was both a metaphor and a real thing. That back then masons could be swallowed up by kings and forced to work, and they got so skilled that you couldn't make them work for you and build something that would last because they were smarter than you were, and they knew how to make the fucking place topple over in a matter of months. It looks sound to you because you're dumb, but when they leave, it falls in on you and kills you. So this trust back and forth meant that these skilled men had to be dealt with, and they tried to kill them and it didn't work, and then they were able to form what is effectively the first union and the first democratic process, and that's how it spread, and that's why the Catholic Church hates it, and that's why the Muslims hate it, and it's why authoritarian governments hate it, and yeah.
This is how you build a matrix, in effect, right?
Ah, I see. This is good. You're good to Neo now.
That is the reason why Aleister Crowley, who was a master, cultist, created an entire religion around this.
Yeah, but kind of as a clown to get laid because he was a fat schlub who nobody wanted to fuck. So you can get, it's like how serial killers who look like shit get relatively beautiful women to write them letters because they're broken inside and stuff. That's how you do that. During the mysticism phase, that was a good way to round people up. Of course, these women were probably high on laudanum at the same time, or he was providing them the laudanum, so...
Put together a series of books, a series of pentacles that are meant to summon various spirits.
Yes, and he died of heart disease, I believe, so... like everybody else?
I want you to hear me when I say that. They are intentionally summoning demons.
Well, are they successful? So you're saying this is a process that works. Are you selling some sort of a program? Sorry if I'm going late about this, guys. We're going way over. But this is fucking crazy. Of course, I would say that because I'm a Mason, right? I suppose. I probably can't. I'm the worst person to address this, except that I'm not.
Book he wrote was called The Book of Evil Spirits. Wow.
Yes, he was a silly person, but he gave us a great Ozzy song. Also, Crowley was his name, not Crowley, but because of Ozzy, we all pronounce it that way. Isn't that neat? Mr. Crowley, right?
Oh, look at that Star of David all over it.
Yeah, but it's turned sideways and it goes everywhere. It's sacred geometry. It's a big thing. Like back then, it's like the swastika is actually the hooked cross in German. They didn't. Swastika is a Hindu phrase, a Hindu name for it, obviously. And there were Buddhists who drew that symbol as well, but they're not on the hook for what the Nazis turned it into any more than somebody who drew a similar pentagram or Star of David would be on the hook for what somebody else uses it for. And as a matter of fact, if it's a point of power and access, then of course people will misuse it and turn it into something. I mean, look at the fucking Jan Sixers who wear the American flag. I rest my fucking case.
What do you mean this is not associated with Judaism?
You just said that, asshat. You just said that. You said it wasn't associated with Judaism. What?
It's associated with Baal worship. I cannot stress this enough.
Sorry. Are we talking about the including the colon? It's bowel worship. Sorry, what?
It's associated with Baal worship.
Ball, B-A-A-L, ball, not bowel. It's all right. Look, I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum. If you're worshiping bowels, knock yourself out. Just be careful out there and play safe.
I cannot stress this enough. That
you clearly do not stress your bowels.
That
I think we have some tape of some bowel worship. Amen. All right.
Is what those in power.
Sorry. I needed that. I needed the break. The omelet and the bowel worship. This is good. I'm just saying maybe she's allergic to eggs.
Practice. It is what they believe. It is ancient. It is a cult. And it is magic. I believe.
But does it work? If it doesn't work, who gives a fuck?
That the manner of Charlie's death was also intended to cast a spell.
Which apparently worked. So you're saying that side does, it's a functioning methodology for achieving goals? I that's what I don't understand. Like, so you're saying this power that they have is real on the Earth plane. It sounds like you're selling it.
That's the only thing I kept asking the question. Why did they broadcast this?
They didn't. People were live streamed everything. They broadcast all of his things. Didn't they? I mean, didn't they carry all these things? I don't think they broadcast. I didn't remember seeing it live. I remember the video being released fairly quickly because there were a lot of people filming with their fucking phones.
Making us watch Charlie die was diabolical.
They didn't make you. You sought it out. I wasn't just flipping fucking channels and breaking. Watch this.
And although this priest that I'm about to show you is discussing Satanism more broadly, he's not.
Oh, he's the guy on Sean Ryan's show.
Saying this to be clear in the context of Charlie Kirk. I want you to take a listen to what he says. This is Father Ripperger. He is going to describe the
Sorry, Father Ripperger? Is he a bowel worshiper? It sounds like it. Ripperger? Okay.
Nature of this sort of constant symbolism that's being used, this obsession.
With putting torture devices up around as representative of the God you believe in. That the thing that they killed him on is representative of some sort of beloved idea instead of, I don't know, like a sun, since it was a sun-worshipping kind of religion up to
with
that point.
Them almost having to reveal to us what they're doing, like wanting to get close to revealing to us what they're doing, and then...
Well, I think it's just, I guess I didn't realize how much the demonic forces benefit from social media.
Gaslighting us. Take a listen.
Actually, the technical term that we tend to use for that is called the revealing of the method.
The tentacle term we use is unlike the testicle term, the revealing of the method.
I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
No, I've not.
Basically, it basically means that... It can be connected to a curse. They could curse this so that it has a more, so that its distribution becomes more extensive and more people watch the thing. But a lot of times what that is that the thing about Satanists and also...
Okay, look, I'm all about please. The reason they show these things, the idea is that you view it as the revealing of the method, is because that is indeed the thing that shocks people. It's like showing I don't know. It's like showing the explosions in Iran makes people who are for it feel like we're winning. This isn't mysticism. This is run-of-the-mill, like, crowd control.
Even though it's occult in the fact that it's hidden, there's a side to diabolic psychology that even when they remain hidden, they still want to show themselves.
Yes, that's the problem. They're too egotistical to keep it a cult. Don't you guys know a cult means to keep it hidden? Why the fuck are you putting up a banner?
In some way, they still.
Why do you want a website? Why do you want to write a book, Aleister Crowley?
They're still going to reveal themselves in something they can't.
All right, this is. I don't need to watch her watch something else or whatever. I went way over. Anyways, fascinating stuff. But this is the entirety of the current argument amongst this crowd. That it and more than anything, this is what. That obviously Fuentes is an atheist, I believe, or he calls himself a Catholic, but not a believer, certainly in the teachings of Jesus or the behaviors of Jesus. So, what the fuck does that even mean? You can call yourself whatever you want. But between her and Tucker Carlson, who I wonder if he views himself as like evangelical or he's one of the new like Catholics that were came about through either being anti-abortion or anti-gay. A lot of people on the right find their way to Catholicism through that, which is fairly sad. But this seems to be a running story between all of them, that this is just a fight between good and evil. And I can't state this like emphatically enough. This is all the machinations of a bunch of people trying to hide the fact that they supported Donald Trump and he's doing these things. It can't be that they were just a bunch of gullible assholes and he's doing exactly what he said he would fucking do. And I couldn't possibly be this fucking stupid. It's got to be demonic forces. Like when your ego overpowers your reason so much, you have to believe that there's something great. I mean, this is the natural extension of the deep state and the pentaveret onto demonic forces. You have to believe this. If you dulled your senses so much that you refuse to look right at Donald Trump and go, this dude was friends with Jeffrey Epstein. He's, if not a kid fucker himself, a fan of kid fuckers. And so to deal with that fact, apparently their ego is so goddamn delicate that they refuse to turn the gazing eye upon themselves and judge their own behavior, their own sycophancy, and their own being, their own idiocy or gullibleness. And so, what's their only alternative? It has to be mystic forces driving this whole thing. The delusion is a defense mechanism at this point. They're all believing that there must be something. I couldn't possibly have fell for this asshole if I hadn't been under a spell. Shut the fuck up. You're a sucker. Get used to it. I will say that there's an upside to this. Is that if they are caught in a spell, it is a spell of their own making. They put a spell on themselves. And they're finding it unbreakable. I will, Ichigo fan. Bless you guys. Thank you guys for your support. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing your eyeballs and your ear holes with me. I will see you tomorrow. Hit that like, share the show. Thank you for the super chats and Patreon supporters, patreon.com/HalSparks, etc.
They rot in the air, a handshake, a lie, a blank, cold stare. Puppets dance, the strings are tight, shadows whisper in the dead of night. This is some thin truths that crumble like ash. Golden thrones built on stolen cash. We raise our fists, we break the mold. Your house of cards is getting old. Static hums, the wires ignite. Truth's a bomb, we're ready to fight. This is some bullshit. We see through it. This is some bullshit. Can't undo it. Say it loud. We won't quit. This is some bullshit.
Amulet. It's killing me.